Hello, how's it going, fellow breeders? It's a great joy to have you back here on the channel. Today I want to share something with you that transformed my life and that of my hens a long time ago. Have you ever felt that helplessness of seeing your birds desperate, scratching nonstop, losing their plumage and even stopping laying eggs because of those damn lice? I went through that situation and tried everything until I discovered that the solution wasn't found in expensive chemicals, but in something that many of us throw in the trash. In today's video, I'm going to reveal my secret method step by step, the one I've been applying for years, the definitive dust bath based on wood ash. But watch out, it's not simply just throwing the ash in. I'm going to teach you what other natural ingredients I add to make it a real bomb against parasites. If you love your chickens and want to see them healthy and happy naturally, stay with me. And if you like this kind of practical advice, don't forget to give the video a like. That helps me a lot to keep sharing my secrets with all of you. I clearly remember one afternoon when I sat down to watch my favorite hens. I noticed that the leader of the group was very restless, pecking at the feathers at the base of her tail with a certain desperation. When I approached and checked her carefully, I got a nasty surprise. She was full of those tiny dots scurrying across her skin. It was a moment of great distress because I felt like I had failed them as a caretaker. That night, I could hardly sleep thinking about how to help them without filling the coop with strong poisons that then end up in the eggs we consume. I started researching and asking the older breeders in my area, looking for an alternative that was respectful of nature. That's when I heard for the first time that chickens have their own way of showering and that we just have to give them the right tools. I understood that lice are not just an aesthetic nuisance, but that they weaken our birds to the point of causing anemia. That's why I decided to take immediate action and transform their resting area into a true health spa. But before I continue telling you how I did it, I want to ask you the question of the day. Have you ever seen your chickens scratching nonstop and didn't know what to do to help them? Tell me about your experience in the comments. I love reading your stories. It all started when I noticed the remains of the wood I use for cooking. An old friend told me, "That ash is pure gold for your birds." At first I was a bit doubtful. I thought they were going to get even dirtier. But the science behind this is wonderful. Wood ash has a suffocating effect on parasites. It's so fine that it gets into the joints of the lice and eliminates them mercilessly. The best thing about ash is that it's a resource almost all of us have on hand or can get easily. It doesn't have strong or toxic odors, and the chickens love that feeling of dry dust between their feathers. Since I started using it, I noticed that my bird's skin looked much cleaner, and most importantly, those little bugs disappeared almost magically in a few days. However, I learned the hard way that not just any ash will do. It must be exclusively from virgin wood, no cardboard, plastics, or painted wood, because that really could hurt them. Over time, I perfected the mix because I realized that the ash alone blew away a lot in the wind. So I started experimenting with the second key ingredient I'm going to tell you about now. For the dust bath to be really effective, I needed something to give the mix weight and structure. That's when I remembered that in nature, birds look for sandy soils. River sand, or even construction sand, as long as it's clean, is the ideal complement to the ash. The sand acts as a natural exfoliant that helps loosen nits and stuck-on dirt. By mixing the sand with the ash, we create a texture that the hens find fascinating. They dig with their feet and wallow with a happiness that's a joy to see. Also, the sand helps the mix stay in the spot we've designated for the bath, preventing it from being wasted. It's as if we were creating a little private beach for them in the middle of the coop. I remember the first time I put the sand in, my hens just stared at the box for a minute, and then one by one, they started getting in as if they knew exactly what to do. That friction of the sand against the skin is fundamental for the treatment to reach the bottom of the plumage. But although the sand and ash are good, I was still missing the master touch to eliminate the most resistant lice. One day, reading an organic farming manual, I discovered food-grade diatomaceous earth. At first, the name sounded very technical to me, but when I understood that they are fossil remains of algae that act like tiny crystals for insects, I knew I had to integrate it. This powder is completely harmless to us and to the chickens. But for a louse, it's like walking on thousands of blades that dry it out completely. Incorporating diatomaceous earth into my mix of ash and sand was the definitive change. This is the ingredient that guarantees that even the parasites hiding in the hardest-to-reach corners of the chicken are reached. Plus, if the hens happen to ingest a little bit while preening, it even helps them combat internal parasites. It's a double benefit we can't pass up. Since I added this white powder to the mix, I haven't seen a single live louse in my pen again. It's a small investment that pays off big because you only need one part for every three of ash. But of course, a good dust bath shouldn't just clean, it should also smell good and protect the skin. And that's where my favorite garden plants come in. Walking through my garden, I realized that there are plants that insects hate. We love the smell of lavender, rosemary, or mint, but for mites and lice, it's a very potent natural repellent. So I decided to dry a good bunch of these herbs, crush them with my hands, and scatter them generously over the dust bath. Can you imagine the pleasant aroma left in the coop when the birds finish bathing? The hens come out smelling fresh, and the herbs help soothe any irritation the lice might have left on their skin. It's like an aromatherapy treatment that also serves a very important preventive medical function in our daily management. Sometimes I also use dried oregano, which is a wonderful natural antibiotic. I've noticed that since I started using herbs, the hens are much calmer and less stressed. Stress is the worst enemy of egg production, so keeping them relaxed is part of my secret for success. But wait, because there's still one more ingredient that's the secret weapon against red mites. If there's something that really scares external parasites, it's sulfur. But be careful. I'm talking about agricultural sulfur, that little yellow powder used in gardens. At first, I was a bit afraid to use it, but I learned that in small amounts, it's the perfect guardian so that lice won't even want to go near the coop. The characteristic smell of sulfur keeps even the most persistent mite at bay. I add just a couple of large spoonfuls to my total mix. It's impressive how this element creates a protective barrier that lasts for weeks on the bird's plumage. I always tell my neighbors that sulfur is like my chicken's invisible shield. Mind you, it has to be mixed very well, so it's evenly distributed among the ash and sand. I remember one little hen whose skin was very red from bites. After a couple of days wallowing in this mix with sulfur, her skin regained its healthy pink color. You have to see it to believe it, friends. Now that we have all the ingredients ready, the next step is just as important. Where are we going to put this bath so it doesn't become a mess? It's not enough to just throw the mix in any corner on the ground. I learned that if I put it in a place where it rained or got damp, it turned into a sticky mud that was useless. That's why I looked for a sheltered corner, but one that gets at least a little bit of sun in the morning. Chickens love a bit of warmth while they take their dust bath. It helps them open their pores. If you don't have a roofed area, you can use an old tire, a wooden box, or even a large plastic container with low edges. I prefer wooden boxes because they give the coop a more rustic and natural look. The important thing is that it's wide enough for at least 2 or 3 chickens to be comfortable at the same time, because they love to bathe in groups. Seeing them all together raising that little cloud of ash and herb dust is one of the things that gives me the most peace. It's the most natural behavior in the world, and I'm glad to be able to offer it to them in the best conditions. Once the place is chosen, comes the moment for the final preparation, which is almost like following a grandma's cooking recipe. Many people ask me how much of each thing I put in. Over the years, I've perfected my measurements by eye, but so you don't fail, I'll give you a simple guide. I use a large bucket as a measurement. I put 2 parts wood ash, 1 part clean sand, and half a part diatomaceous earth. The sulfur and herbs go in at the end as if they were the salt and pepper of a good dish. I mix everything with a small shovel, making sure to break up any clumps of ash that might be left. It's important that the mix remains very loose and light. If you feel it's too heavy, add a little more ash. The goal is that when the hen shakes her wings, that fine dust reaches the last layer of her skin where the little bugs hide. It's a very satisfying, almost therapeutic process. Seeing how such simple materials become the best medicine in the world makes me value what nature gives us much more. Once the box is half full, I remove my tools and simply sit down to watch the magic that happens next. It's incredible how quickly chickens identify when you've given them something new and beneficial. Usually, the head of the coop is the first to approach. She looks at the box with curiosity and gives a couple of pecks to test the texture. As soon as she puts her first foot in and feels the freshness of the ash, she starts scratching and throwing the dust over her back with rhythmic movements. In a matter of minutes, the rest of the group joins in. It's a spectacle to see them stretch their legs, open their wings, and rub their necks against the bottom of the box. Sometimes they stay there still, like in a trance, enjoying the cleaning. I stay there with my little cup of coffee, enjoying seeing them so full and knowing that those lice's hours are numbered. That's the moment when you realize that the effort is worth it. There's nothing more rewarding than seeing your animals healthy through your own merit. But watch out. The work doesn't end here. For this method to continue being the most effective, you have to give it a basic maintenance that many people forget. Just as we wouldn't bathe in dirty water, our chicken's dust bath needs attention. With use, they kick the mix out of the box and sometimes end up dropping food scraps or even their own business in there. I take 5 minutes every 2 days to clean out any dirt with a small shovel. Once a week, I usually stir the whole mix so it's loose and airy again. If I see that the level has dropped a lot, I add a bit more of my magic ash and sand mix. Keeping it dry is the golden rule. If for any reason it gets wet, it's better to change it completely, since wet ash loses all its properties against parasites. This small cleaning habit makes the difference between a bath that works and one that just takes up space. My chickens already know that when they see me with the ash bucket, something good is going to happen. A very beautiful bond is created between the caretaker and their birds when they understand that this care is for their well-being. After a few months of using this method consistently, the changes in the chickens are amazing. Their feathers shine like never before. They look silkier and stronger, but the best thing isn't what you see on the outside, but how they feel. By not having the constant nuisance of bites, they are much calmer, eat better, and of course, egg production stabilizes. I've noticed that even in the hottest times, which is when lice usually attack with more force, my birds stay impeccable. I no longer have to spend on chemical sprays that I was afraid to apply near their eyes or beaks. Knowing that I am producing healthy food for my family, free of toxic residues, is a peace of mind that is priceless. Even my neighbors have started asking me what I feed them so they look like that. I always tell them, it's not just the food, it's their ash bath. It's a secret that deserves to be shared because it's good for the birds, for our pockets, and for the planet. We are returning to the natural, to what always worked before everything became so industrial. If you are starting out in this world of breeding, or if you've been at it for a while but struggle against parasites, I encourage you with all my heart to try this method today. Don't wait until your chickens are sick to act. Prevention is key, and giving your birds the chance to take care of their own hygiene is the best gift you can give them as a responsible owner. Sometimes we think taking care of animals is complicated, but the truth is that if we observe nature, she gives us all the answers. We only need a little ash, sand, and the desire to do things right. I've been doing it for years, and I assure you there's no turning back. Once you see the results, you become an ambassador for natural methods. Go ahead and prepare your own premium dust bath this weekend. Your chickens will thank you with their joy and with those delicious eggs that only a happy hen can lay. Remember that every small change you make in your pen adds up to a successful breeding experience full of satisfaction. You can do it. Well, friends, I hope this secret I've shared with you today is of great use to you. Raising chickens is a beautiful adventure, and doing it naturally connects us much more with life itself. I say goodbye with much joy, hoping that your coops are always full of health and harmony. If this story about how to take care of your birds naturally has changed your perspective on what you previously considered waste, I invite you to subscribe and give a like to our channel. We are rescuing the secrets of breeding that the modern world has tried to forget. Sow well-being in your pen. The next treasure of natural wisdom will open very soon.